They say a man can survive just about anything if he sees it coming. Cancer diagnosis, factory layoff, even a bad winter. You brace yourself and somehow you get through. But what they don't tell you is how a surprise can kill you, just as dead as a bullet, only slower. I'm standing in the university reception hall, ice clinking in glasses all around me, 200 people in suits and academic robes talking about theories and dissertations I'll never understand. My wife's at the microphone. I'm thinking she's about to thank me. 7 years I worked doubles at the plant so she could get that PhD. 7 years of cold dinners and empty beds and telling myself it'd be worth it when she walked across that stage. Instead, she says 3 words that stop my heart. I'm finally free. Then she hands me divorce papers in front of everyone. The envelope hit my chest like a subpoena. Heavy paper, official looking, with a process server's apologetic nod that said he'd done this 1,000 times before, and mine was just another Tuesday. I don't remember walking to the door. Don't remember the face turning to watch me leave. All I remember is the February cold hitting me like a slap when I stepped outside, and the sound of her laughing, actually laughing, as the door swung shut behind me. My truck was parked 3 blocks away. Took me 4 tries to get the key in the ignition because my hands wouldn't stop shaking. The engine turned over, heater blowing cold air that smelled like antifreeze and old fast food. I sat there in the dark parking lot, streetlights buzzing overhead, and looked at the envelope in my lap. Linda Marie Brennan, that was her name on the return address. Not Linda Walsh, like when we married. Not even hyphenated. Just her maiden name, like our 42 years together never happened. I drove home on autopilot, radio stayed off. Couldn't stand the thought of some cheerful voice telling me about weekend sales or sports scores while my world was ending. The roads were empty. Everyone was at the reception, celebrating. Celebrating her, celebrating my humiliation. The house was dark when I pulled in. All the lights on inside, though, like she'd left in a hurry, or like she wanted me to see. I walked through the front door and knew immediately. You live with someone for 42 years. You know when they're gone. It's not just the silence. It's the quality of the silence. Empty silence sounds different than waiting silence. Her closet was bare, not a dress, not a shoe, not a wire hanger left behind. The bathroom counter where her makeup used to crowd every inch, clean. The drawer where she kept her jewelry box, empty except for the wedding ring I'd saved 3 months to buy back in 1983. Sitting there on the velvet, like a piece of trash. I picked it up, still warm somehow. Or maybe that was just my imagination. In the living room, I saw what she'd done to the mantel. Our wedding photo, gone. Marcus's baby pictures, gone. That shot of the 3 of us at his high school graduation, gone. In their place, centered and perfectly lit, was her doctorate certificate. Framed in expensive wood I didn't recognize. Dr. Linda Marie Brennan, PhD in educational psychology. I stood there looking at it until my eyes blurred. The frame probably cost more than my first car. The kitchen table, the one my father and I built from barnwood in 1983, had a note. White paper, neat handwriting, the kind of penmanship they don't teach anymore. Walt, this is best for both of us. My attorney will be in contact. Please don't make this difficult. L, not love, not sorry, just L. I read it 3 times, like maybe the 4th time it would say something different. It didn't. I tried sitting in the bedroom, couldn't do it, tried the couch, couldn't do that either. Ended up in my recliner, the one I'd bought when I retired 6 months ago. Sat there in the dark with my coat still on, listening to the furnace kick on and off, trying to understand what had just happened. Sleep didn't come. At 3 a.m. I was still sitting there, watching the ceiling, replaying the graduation. Her voice at the microphone. I want to thank everyone who believed in my potential, even when others thought a woman my age should stay comfortable. The room had laughed at that. I'd thought she was making a joke about herself. Now I understood. She meant me. I was the others. I was the one who wanted her to stay comfortable. 42 years. I worked doubles while she went to school, paid every bill, every tuition payment, every book, came home tired to cold dinners, in an empty bed because she was studying, told myself it was temporary, told myself we were building something together. Turns out I was building a gallows. Morning came gray and cold. I made coffee out of habit. Couldn't taste it. Poured it down the sink and made another cup. Like, maybe the second one would work better. It didn't. Church bells rang at 8, Sunday morning service at First Baptist, where we'd been members for 30 years. I thought about going, even got as far as putting on clean jeans and finding a shirt that didn't smell like workshop sawdust, but I couldn't make my feet move toward the door. Mrs. Henderson would be there. She'd ask where Linda was, and I'd have to say it out loud. Say the words, "She left me," to a woman who'd brought us casseroles when Marcus was born. No, I couldn't do it. Instead, I went to the workshop. My father's tools hung on the pegboard, organized the way he'd taught me, each one in its place, clean and oiled and ready. He'd been dead 15 years, but his tools were still good. "Take care of your tools," he used to say, "and they'll take care of you." I picked up a hand plane, set it down, picked up a chisel, set it down, couldn't focus enough to work, couldn't stand still enough to just sit. In the corner, covered with a drop cloth, was the cradle I'd been building. Marcus's wife was due in 4 months. A girl, they'd told us. Helen, after my mother. I'd been working on the cradle for 3 months, getting it perfect. Wanted my granddaughter to have something I made with my own hands. I pulled back the cloth and looked at it. Maplewood, dovetail joints, smooth curves, sanded to satin. Unfinished. Still needed the final coat of oil and the mattress support slats. I covered it back up, couldn't look at it anymore. Went back inside. The house felt wrong, too big, too empty, too full of her absence. I tried calling Marcus, got his voicemail. "Hey son, it's your dad. Give me a call when you can. Well, just call me." Hung up, realized I didn't know what I'd say if he called back. "Your mother left me at her graduation party." Sounded crazy, even in my head. The rest of Sunday bled into evening. I ate saltines from the box because I couldn't remember how to be hungry. Watched the sun set through the kitchen window. Thought about calling someone, Eddie from the plant, or Chuck, or Tommy from the diner. But what would I say? Night came again. I went back to the recliner. Monday morning, the mail came. I heard the truck, heard the mailbox lid squeak open and clank shut, waited 5 minutes before I went out to check, like maybe if I waited long enough, whatever was in there would disappear. Fat legal envelope. Return address, Fitch & Associates, family law. My hands hovered over it. I knew what was inside. More pain, more humiliation, more proof that the woman I'd loved for 42 years had been planning my destruction. But I took it anyway. Brought it inside, set it on the barnwood table, and stood there staring at it, knowing that whatever was in that envelope, nothing would ever be the same. What else had she done while I wasn't looking? I opened the envelope with a butter knife. Seemed fitting somehow, using a dull blade for something sharp. The petition was 23 pages. I know because I counted them twice, thinking maybe I'd miscounted the first time. 23 pages to end 42 years. Petitioner, Linda Marie Brennan. Respondent, Walter James Brennan. Cold legal language that turned us into strangers. She was seeking dissolution of marriage, equitable distribution of assets, spousal maintenance, and, this part made my coffee go cold, a restraining order. I read that line 3 times. Petitioner requests the court grant a temporary restraining order due to respondent's history of financial control and emotionally coercive behavior. Financial control, emotionally coercive. I set the papers down. My hands were shaking again. I'd worked at Midwestern Metalworks for 40 years, started on the line, worked my way to foreman. Every paycheck went to the bills, the mortgage, the savings account. When Linda wanted to go back to school, I said yes. Picked up extra shifts so she wouldn't have to worry about money while she studied. That was control. The petition had a list. Numbered allegations. Respondent managed all marital finances without petitioner's input. Respondent made unilateral decisions regarding major purchases. Respondent's work schedule created emotional distance and unavailability. Respondent discouraged petitioner from seeking employment outside the home. I read each one, trying to find myself in those words. Couldn't. The phone rang. I jumped like I'd been shot. Marcus. Finally. "Hey, Dad?" His voice sounded careful, like he was talking to someone who might break. "Son?" I said. My voice came out rougher than I intended. "Your mother tell you?" Silence on the line. Long enough I thought maybe we'd been disconnected. "She called yesterday," Marcus said finally. "Said you two were separating. Said it was mutual." Mutual. The word tasted like copper. "She serve you your separation papers in front of 200 people? Dad, did she tell you about the restraining order? About how I'm apparently emotionally coercive?" "She said—" Marcus stopped, started again. "She said you were emotionally absent, that you worked all the time and never—" "Dad, she said she felt invisible." I closed my eyes. The kitchen was too bright. Everything was too bright. "I worked doubles so she could get her degree," I said. $127,000, intuition. I got the receipts in a box upstairs if you want to count them. "Money isn't the point." "Then what is? What's the point, Marcus? I'm trying to understand what I did that was so terrible she couldn't tell me to my face. Had to do it in front of God and everybody with a process server and papers already drawn up. Silence again. Then, she wants to try counseling. She thinks if you both go to therapy, maybe you can work it out. Hope hit me like a punch to the chest. Sudden, painful. She said that? Yeah, she gave me a name. Dr. Susan Brennan. Not related, he added quickly. Different Brennan. I grabbed a pen, wrote the name on the back of the petition. She really thinks we can fix this? I don't know, Dad, but maybe it's worth a try. After we hung up, I sat there looking at the name. Dr. Susan Brennan, marriage counselor. Maybe Marcus was right. Maybe this was fixable. Maybe the public humiliation was Linda's way of burning it all down so we could build something new. I wanted to believe that so badly it hurt. The bank statement came that afternoon. Regular mail, thin envelope, the kind that usually doesn't matter. I opened it, standing by the mailbox. Joint savings account, the one we'd had since 1985, the one where I deposited every spare dollar, building our retirement, building security for when we got old. Balance, $231.47. I blinked, read it again, $231.47. 6 weeks ago, that account had $54,000. My legs went numb. I walked back inside, statement in hand, and called the bank. Got transferred 3 times before I reached someone who could access the account. Mr. Brennan, I'm showing a series of transfers over the past 8 weeks. Electronic transfers to an account at First National, account holder Linda Walsh. Walsh, that's her maiden name. Yes, sir. The transfers were made using your online banking credentials. 8 transfers ranging from $6,000 to $8,000 each. I didn't make those transfers. The woman's voice got careful. Professional. Sir, the transfers were authorized using your username and password. I'm looking at the IP address. They were initiated from your home network. I hung up, sat at the Barnwood table, looked at the statement. She'd taken it all, every dollar I'd saved in 40 years of factory work, taken it while I was at the plant, while I was trusting her, while I was believing we were partners. The home equity loan notice came 2 days later, priority mail, signature required. The postman knew me. Jerry worked the route for 15 years. He handed it to me with a sympathetic look that said he knew what was in it. $78,000, borrowed against the house. My signature on the application, dated 2 months ago, except I'd never signed it. I held the paper up to the light. The signature looked like mine, almost, but the W was wrong, too round, and the way the T crossed in Brennan, the tail was too short. She'd forged it, practiced my signature, and forged a loan for $78,000 against the house my father and I had built with our own hands. I drove to the bank, showed them the notice. The loan officer, a kid who couldn't have been 30, pulled up the file. Signature looks valid, Mr. Brennan. Loan was approved February 3rd. Funds were dispersed to the joint account and then... Oh. Then what? Then transferred out the same day to an account at First National. Linda Walsh's account. She'd stolen the savings, then borrowed against the house, then stolen that too. I sat in that bank for 20 minutes, just trying to breathe. The kid offered me water. I didn't take it. When I finally stood up to leave, my knees almost gave out. I needed groceries. Hadn't eaten a real meal in 3 days. Drove to the Safeway where I'd been shopping for 30 years, pushed a cart through the automatic doors, and made it as far as produce before I heard it. Oh my God, is that him? 2 young women, college age, university sweatshirts, standing by the apples looking at their phone, then at me, then at their phone again. One of them giggled. I abandoned my cart right there in the aisle, walked out, got in my truck, drove 40 minutes to the Kroger in the next town over. Nobody knew me there. When I got home, there was a casserole on my porch, still warm, covered in aluminum foil. A note tucked under the dish. Walt, I don't gossip, you know that, but I saw things I need to tell you about. Come by when you're ready. Diane. Fletcher, my neighbor for 30 years, widow, 3 years now. She'd brought casseroles when Marcus was born, when my father died, when my mother passed. Good woman, quiet, kept to herself mostly. I took the casserole inside, pot roast by the smell, still couldn't eat, but I put it in the fridge. What things had Diane seen? The phone rang. Marcus again. Dad, I talked to Mom. She really wants to try the counseling. Dr. Brennan has an opening Friday. Can you make it? I looked at the bank statement on the table, the loan notice, the petition with its restraining order request and lists of allegations. Yeah, I heard myself say. Yeah, I can make it. Because I was desperate, because I was drowning, because some part of me still believed that if I apologized enough, admitted enough fault, she might come back, and I wouldn't have to face the fact that I'd wasted 42 years on someone who'd been planning my destruction. Friday, 3 days away. Maybe it wasn't too late. Maybe we could still fix this. I wanted to believe that more than I'd ever wanted anything. Dr. Susan Brennan's office was in one of those modern buildings near the university. Glass and steel, the kind of place where everyone wore blazers and talked in soft voices. I showed up 15 minutes early, wearing my good khakis and the flannel shirt Marcus had given me for Christmas. Felt like showing up to a black tie dinner in work boots. The waiting room had leather chairs and magazines about mindfulness, soft music playing from hidden speakers. I sat there picking at a loose thread on my knee, trying to remember the last time Linda and I had a real conversation. Couldn't pin it down. Months, maybe. She'd been busy with her dissertation. I'd been working. We'd passed each other like roommates. Maybe she was right. Maybe I had been absent. The door opened. Linda came in with a woman I assumed was Dr. Brennan, mid-40s, kind face, professional handshake. "Mr. Brennan, thank you for coming. Why don't we all go inside?" Linda wouldn't look at me. She'd cut her hair, shorter, more styled, wearing clothes I didn't recognize, expensive looking. The office was warm, too warm. Dr. Brennan sat behind her desk, Linda and I in chairs facing her. Close enough I could smell Linda's perfume. Different perfume, not the one I'd bought her for our anniversary. "Let's start with some ground rules," Dr. Brennan said. "This is a safe space. We're here to listen, not to judge. Mr. Brennan, why don't you tell me what brought you to counseling?" I looked at Linda. She was staring at her hands. "My wife left me," I said. "Served me divorce papers at her graduation, in front of 200 people. I'm trying to understand why." "And Mrs. Brennan, how would you describe the situation?" Linda's voice was soft, wounded. I felt trapped. For 40 years I put my dreams on hold, raised our son, kept the house, waited for Walt to notice me. He never did. "I worked," I said. "Worked 8-hour doubles so you could go to school." Dr. Brennan held up a hand. "Mr. Brennan, did you consult your wife before taking those extra shifts?" The question caught me off guard. No. I mean, we needed the money for tuition. Did you ask Linda what she needed, or did you decide for her?" I opened my mouth, closed it. I was providing. Providing what she asked for, or what you decided she needed? The questions kept coming, each one sharper than the last. Did I involve Linda in financial decisions? Did I ask her opinion on major purchases? Did I create space for her to express her needs? I tried to answer honestly. Said yes, I handled the money. Yes, I made decisions about the bills, the mortgage, the savings, but we'd talked about it, hadn't we? Or had I just told her what I was doing and assumed that was the same thing? By the end of the hour, I felt like I'd been filleted. "This is good work," Dr. Brennan said. "Mr. Brennan, I'd like you to think about the ways you might have unintentionally created an imbalance of power. Mrs. Brennan, I want you to consider whether you clearly communicated your needs. Let's meet again next week." We scheduled another session. I left feeling strange, hopeful maybe, like if I could just admit my faults, we could fix this. Linda was already in her car, a silver Audi I didn't recognize, before I made it to my truck. The second session was worse. Dr. Brennan kept circling back to my controlling behaviors, the way I managed the finances, the way I decided Linda should focus on school instead of working. "But she wanted to go to school," I said. "She asked me." "And you granted permission," Dr. Brennan said. "Do you see the dynamic there? She had to ask. You had the power to say yes or no." I felt like I was drowning, like everything I'd thought was love was actually oppression. Linda cried during that session, real tears, voice breaking. I just wanted to be seen as an equal, not someone's dependent. I tried to apologize, said I hadn't meant to make her feel that way, said I loved her, said we could change things. She wouldn't look at me. When we left, I sat in my truck for a long time. The parking lot was mostly empty. 4:30 on a Friday afternoon, cold outside, that February cold that gets into your bones. I saw them before they saw me. Linda's silver Audi was parked 3 rows over. She was standing by the driver's door, and a man was with her, younger, 40 maybe, athletic build, wearing a university jacket. His hands were in her hair. Her laugh, that laugh I used to love, the one I hadn't heard in years, floated across the parking lot. Then he kissed her. Not a friendly kiss, not a comforting kiss, the kind of kiss that said they'd done this before. many times before. My hands went numb on the steering wheel. They pulled apart. She said something that made him laugh. They got into separate cars. His was parked next to hers, a blue BMW with a university parking sticker. I sat there until they both drove away. Then I sat there longer. My phone buzzed. Marcus, I didn't answer. I went back inside the building. The receptionist was packing up for the day. Can I help you? Dr. Brennan, I said. How long has she been practicing? Oh, Dr. Brennan's been here about 5 years. Before that, she was at the university. The university? Yes, she taught in the psychology department. That's where she and Dr. Linda Brennan knew each other. They were in the same undergraduate class, I think. Isn't that a funny coincidence? I looked at the wall behind her. Diplomas. Dr. Susan Brennan, B.A. Psychology, 1982, same year as Linda, same school. Not a coincidence. I drove home, in the dark, didn't remember the route. Just ended up in my driveway somehow. The reconciliation wasn't real. The therapy wasn't real. Dr. Brennan wasn't a neutral counselor. She was Linda's college friend, helping her build a legal case. Every question had been designed to get me to admit to controlling behaviors. Every apology I'd made would be used against me in court. The sessions weren't therapy, they were depositions. I called Marcus. He answered on the third ring. Dad, you okay? You didn't answer earlier? Your mother isn't trying to fix this, son. My voice sounded hollow. She's trying to destroy me. That's harsh, Dad. Ask her about Dr. Brennan. Ask her how long she's known her. Silence. Ask her, I said again. Then I hung up. I sat at the barnwood table in the dark. The legal papers were still there, the bank statements, the loan notice. She'd been planning this for months, maybe years. The affair, the theft, the forged loan, the public humiliation, the fake therapy designed to make me confess to crimes I didn't commit. How did you fight someone who'd already won? March came in cold and mean. Snow turned to slush, then froze again at night. The kind of weather that makes you feel like winter's never going to end. I stopped going to the Thursday breakfast at Tommy's Diner. Couldn't face Eddie E. and Chuck and the rest of the plant crew. They'd heard by now, small town, word travels. I didn't want their sympathy or their careful silence or their eyes sliding away when I walked in. Court date was circled on my calendar, 6 weeks out, April 23rd, a Friday. I went to Legal Aid on a Tuesday, 3-hour wait in plastic chairs that smelled like industrial cleaner. Finally got called back to see a public defender. Young guy couldn't have been 35, tired eyes, stack of folders on his desk tall enough to topple. He listened to my story, looked at the papers, rubbed his face. Mr. Brennan, your wife has Lawrence Fitch representing her. I know. Fitch is the best divorce attorney in 3 counties. He charges $400 an hour. Minimum retainers $20,000. I didn't say anything. I've got 92 active cases, he continued. I can file your response. I can show up to court. But against Fitch? He didn't finish the sentence. Didn't need to. So what do I do? Get a lawyer, a real one, or settle. I can't afford a lawyer. And she wants the house, the pension, alimony. Then you're going to lose. He said it flat. Not mean, just factual. The system isn't designed for truth, Mr. Brennan. It's designed for money and preparation. She's got both. I walked out past Fitch's office on my way back to the truck. Corner suite, brass nameplate, mahogany doors. Through the glass, I could see a marble lobby, leather furniture, a receptionist in a suit that probably cost more than my monthly pension. My Carhartt jacket had a torn pocket. My boots tracked slush on their carpet. I didn't belong in places like that. Marcus called that night, first time in a week. Dad. His voice was different, harder. I asked Mom about Dr. Brennan. And? She said they knew each other, from college. Said it was a coincidence. You believe that? Long silence. I don't know what to believe anymore. We didn't talk long. After we hung up, I realized he hadn't said he was coming to help, hadn't offered anything except doubt. The mail kept coming, new lawyer letters every few days, Linda's demands detailed and clinical. Half the house equity, half my pension, alimony at $2,000 a month for 10 years, attorney fees she wanted me to pay for the lawyer who was destroying me. I spread them on the barnwood table, did the math. If I gave her everything she wanted, I'd have nothing. The house would have to be sold, the pension split wouldn't cover rent, I'd be 77 years old before the alimony payments stopped. If I lived that long. I tried the diner once. Thursday morning, out of habit more than hunger. Walked in, bell chiming. Eddie and Chuck were at our usual booth. They made room, didn't ask questions. But the silence was wrong. Careful, like I was made of glass. Chuck tried. Rough break, Walt. I nodded, stared at my coffee. Nobody knew what to say after that. I left cash on the table, mumbled about errands, didn't go back. Grocery shopping in the next town became routine, 40-minute drive each way just to avoid being recognized. Small price for not having strangers stare at their phones and then at me. One night, maybe 2 weeks into March, I sat in the workshop. Didn't turn on the lights, just sat in the dark with my father's tools hanging on the wall. The cradle was still there, covered, unfinished. Marcus's baby would be here in 3 months. I couldn't make myself work on it, couldn't make myself throw it away either. My phone was in my hand, Jerry's number pulled up but not dialed. My cousin in Montana had a cabin in the mountains, no neighbors, no internet, no one who knew my name or my shame. I could sign everything away. Give her the house, the pension, whatever she wanted. Take what fit in the truck and drive west until the roads ran out. She'd win, but I'd be gone. And being gone sounded better than being here. Watching my life get picked apart by lawyers and whispers. What was dignity worth if you were alone with it? The workshop door creaked. I looked up. Diane Fletcher stood in the doorway, backlit by her porch light. She was holding an envelope, and her eyes weren't sympathetic. They were angry. Walt Brennan, you sit down. I am sitting. Then stay sitting. We need to talk. She came in, pulled up my father's old stool, set the envelope on the workbench. Her hands were shaking, not with fear, with fury. I don't gossip, she said. You know that about me. Known you 30 years, never spread a word about anybody. But I'll be damned if I'm going to watch a good man get destroyed because he's too decent to fight dirty. I looked at her, looked at the envelope. Diane, Max was a private investigator before he retired. Did you know that? I shook my head. He taught me things, how to watch, how to document, how to see what people don't want seen. She pushed the envelope toward me. I've been watching Walt since before the graduation. I saw things. What things? Open it. Inside were photographs, time-stamped, dated, a silver Audi in my driveway, Wednesday afternoons, Linda leaving with a younger man, the same man from the parking lot, hotel receipts, credit card statements with charges I recognized, our joint account paying for rooms at the Colonial Inn, 14 different dates, all while I'd been at the plant. She's been cheating for at least 2 years, Diane said. Probably longer, and she's been using your money to do it. My hands were numb. I looked at the evidence. Solid, documented, real. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have believed me? Before the divorce papers? Before the theft? She leaned forward. You needed to see who she really was. Now you have. Question is, are you going to fight, or are you going to run to Montana? I stared at her. How did you... I've been your neighbor 30 years, Walt. I know when a man's thinking about disappearing. Her voice softened. Max would have said something, would have stood up, and I'm standing up now. You helped him when his arthritis got bad, fixed the porch railing, didn't ask for a thing. We pay our debts. She stood, headed for the door, stopped. You're not alone in this. Remember that. Then she was gone. Workshop door swinging shut, her porch light clicking off across the way. I sat in the dark, holding the envelope. Evidence of betrayal, proof of her lies, ammunition, but ammunition was useless without a gun, and I still couldn't afford the lawyer who could fire it. Could I? Diane didn't give me time to wallow. Next morning, 9 a.m., she was knocking on my door with a pot of coffee and a folder thick enough to be a phone book. Kitchen table, she said, walking past me like she owned the place. And sit down. We've got work to do. She spread the contents across the barnwood. More photographs, hotel receipts with dates and times, a spreadsheet, actual spreadsheet, matching credit card charges to surveillance dates. Max's buddy Eddie Corso helped me, she said. Retired PI. Still has contacts. These receipts are legal, obtained through proper channels, admissible in court. I picked up one. Colonial Inn, February 14th, Valentine's Day. While I'd been working a double shift, she'd been there with him. Charged it to our joint account. $173. Who is he? I asked. Derek Santorini, statistics professor at the university, 41 years old, divorced, no kids. Diane pulled out another sheet. Car registration, home address, employment history. Everything you need. Diane, I appreciate this, but I can't afford. I'm not asking for money, Walt. I'm asking you to stop giving up. She looked at me hard. You going to fight or not? Before I could answer, there was a knock at the door. Tommy Nguyen stood on my porch, holding an envelope. Walt, got a minute? Tommy owned the diner. Vietnamese immigrant, came over in '78. His daughter Grace worked as a welder now, made $32 an hour. I'd helped her get into trade school when everyone said girls didn't belong in welding. He came in, nodded at Diane, set the envelope on the table. Open it later, he said. This is between us. Tommy, you helped Grace when she needed it. We don't forget. He was already heading for the door. No timeline, no interest, just take care of yourself. He was gone before I could argue. I opened the envelope. $5,000 in hundreds. A note in Tommy's handwriting. Loan. Pay it back when you can, or don't. Either way, we're square. My eyes burned. I set the money down. Couldn't look at it. That's a start, Diane said. But you need more than money. You need someone who knows the law. That afternoon, a woman I didn't recognize walked up to me in the hardware store parking lot. Early 30s, professional clothes, carrying a briefcase. Mr. Brennan? Walt Brennan? I tensed. Who's asking? Rita Salazar. My father is Jose Salazar. He worked at Midwestern Metalworks. I remembered. Jose had hurt his back on the line. Could have been fired. I'd arranged light duty for him, kept him working until retirement. Your dad doing okay? Great, thanks to you. She glanced around the parking lot. Can we talk? We sat in my truck. She opened the briefcase. I'm a paralegal at Morrison & Associates. 8 years. I specialize in family law. She pulled out papers. I've been following your case. Dr. Lawrence Fitch is representing your wife. I know. I can't afford. I'm offering pro bono. She cut me off. My firm doesn't know yet, but my boss owes me favors. Mr. Brennan, you helped my dad when no one else would. He worked 10 more years because of you, made it to retirement with his pension intact. Our family doesn't forget. I stared at her. Fitch is expensive and good. You really think Fitch is expensive and polished, but he's lazy, relies on reputation and intimidation. I'm hungry, thorough, and I don't scare easy. She smiled. Shark smile. We can beat him, but I need everything. Bank statements, credit card records, receipts, correspondence. Everything you've got. I keep records. My father taught me. Good. We'll need them. We went to my house. I brought down the fireproof box from the bedroom closet. Tax returns, bank statements, canceled checks going back 40 years, receipts organized by year, my father's training. Document everything, keep it organized. You never know when you'll need proof. Rita's eyes lit up. Mr. Brennan, you're a documenter. That's going to save us. She spread everything on the kitchen table. Started sorting, categorizing, building timelines. Diane joined us, adding her surveillance photos and receipts. Look at this, Rita said, matching a credit card charge to one of Diane's photographs. February 20th, Colonial Inn, $192 charged to your joint account. Same day, same time as this photo. She kept going, building a timeline that showed systematic theft going back 6 months, money transfers matching the pattern Diane had documented, hotel charges while I was at work. She's been planning this, Rita said. The affair started at least 2 years ago. The financial theft started 6 months before graduation. The forged loan was 2 months before she served papers. This wasn't spontaneous, this was calculated. My phone rang. Marcus. Dad, I need to tell you something. His voice was different, shaken. What is it, son? Mom's boyfriend. You said his name was Derek Santorini? That's right. Dad. Marcus stopped. Started again. He was my academic advisor. Senior year at university. He helped me with my thesis after Grandma died. Gave me a B+ I didn't really deserve. The room tilted. He's been to our house, Marcus continued. That Christmas when I brought him home because he said he was alone for the holidays. Mom invited him. She made ham. We all sat at that barnwood table and ate together. Jesus, Diane whispered. Marcus kept talking, voice thick. I need to come home. I need to see Mom's apartment. She gave me a key for emergencies. Marcus, you don't have to. Yes, I do. Because if he was my advisor, and she knew that, and she chose him anyway, he couldn't finish. When can you get here? I'm already in the truck. Be there by tomorrow afternoon. After he hung up, I sat there trying to process. The professor had been Marcus's mentor, had been in our home, Linda had orchestrated this betrayal not just of me, but of our son. Rita was making notes. If Marcus testifies about the professor being his advisor, about him coming to family events, it destroys any claim that this was a spontaneous relationship. And if he found evidence at her apartment, he's not breaking in, I said. He has a key and permission to use it in emergencies. Technically not breaking and entering. Rita looked at me. We need to know what's there. Diane stood. I'll make dinner. You three need to eat. Diane, you don't have to. Yes, I do. Max would have done this, would have stood up for you. I'm doing what he would have done. Her voice cracked slightly. And maybe I'm tired of being alone in that house, with nothing but memories. She went to the kitchen, started pulling out pots. Rita kept working, organizing evidence into exhibits. I sat there watching two women I barely knew fight a battle I'd almost surrendered. Why were they doing this? As if reading my mind, Rita looked up. My dad talks about you sometimes. Says you were the only foreman who treated the line workers like people. Says you had everyone's back. She went back to her papers. Now we've got yours. That night, 3 of us worked until midnight, building the case, piece by piece. Bank statements showing I'd paid every cent of Linda's education. $127,000 in canceled checks and tuition receipts. Evidence I'd willingly funded her dream while she planned my destruction. Diane brought pot roast at 7. We ate at the barnwood table, evidence spread around our plates. It felt strange, good strange, like being part of something again, instead of drowning alone. Marcus gets here tomorrow, I said. Then what? Then we see what he finds, Rita said. And we build a case that Fitch can't beat. After they left, I sat in the workshop. The evidence envelope was on my workbench. Tommy's money was in my pocket. Rita's business card was on the table with her cell phone written on the back. Call anytime. We're in this together. For the first time since the graduation, I didn't feel like I was falling. I picked up a piece of sandpaper, walked to the covered cradle, pulled back the drop cloth. Maybe it was time to finish what I'd started. Marcus pulled into the driveway at 3 in the afternoon, 18 hours from Denver, driving straight through. He looked exhausted, older somehow, like he'd aged a year in the 2 weeks since Linda left. We stood in the driveway, awkward. Then he hugged me, hard. I'm sorry, Dad. I should have believed you from the start. You loved your mother. That's right. He pulled back, eyes red. I still love her, but I don't know her anymore. Rita was already at the kitchen table. War room established. Diane had brought coffee and sandwiches. Marcus ate standing up, couldn't sit still. The key's in my wallet, he said. Mom's apartment. She gave it to me last year when she moved in there, said it was for emergencies. This qualifies, Rita said. But we need to be smart. Take pictures of everything. Don't remove anything we can't replace. Chain of custody matters. What am I looking for? Anything that shows premeditation. Financial documents, correspondence, diary entries, practice signatures. Rita handed him her phone. Use this. It timestamps and geotags automatically. We drove separately. Marcus and I in my truck, Rita and Diane following. The apartment was in a new complex near campus. Upscale, modern, nothing like the house we'd raised Marcus in. The place smelled like expensive candles in someone else's life. Marcus let us in with the key. The living room had furniture I didn't recognize. Abstract art on the walls. A man's jacket on the coat rack. University logo on the breast. He lives here, Marcus said quietly. Derek lives here. Rita was already moving through the space, photographing. Cohabitation establishes the relationship timeline. This helps us. Marcus went to the bedroom, came back carrying a legal pad. His hands were shaking. Dad, look. Pages of my signature. Different pens, different pressures. Some close, some way off. Practice runs. Learning my handwriting. Rita photographed every page. This proves the loan forgery. Combined with the document examiner's analysis, it's devastating. Diane found the diary in a nightstand drawer, leather-bound, expensive. Linda's handwriting filled the pages. Marcus read one entry aloud, voice breaking. Need to secure finances before he realizes. Derek says I deserve better than a factory worker. The PhD will give me credibility in court. Another entry, dated 3 months before graduation. Public announcement will establish my independence in his humiliation. He won't fight if he's too ashamed. She'd planned the graduation humiliation. Written it down like a strategy session. Rita photographed every page. This is premeditation, cold calculation. A jury would hate this. We're not going to jury, I said. This is divorce court. Still, Judge Holbrook will see this, and judges are people too. We found more. Financial records showing the money transfers, notes about timing, amounts, account numbers, a folder labeled Divorce Strategy with her attorney's letterhead. Inside, a timeline. A fair start date, April 2022, approximately. That was 3 years ago. 3 years while I worked doubles to pay her tuition. 3 years of planning and stealing and lying. Marcus sat on the couch, head in his hands. She had me over for dinner last month, cooked my favorite meal, told me she loved me, all while planning this. Diane sat next to him, didn't say anything, just sat. We were there for 2 hours, documented everything, put it all back exactly how we'd found it, locked the door on our way out. The drive home was quiet. Marcus stared out the window, finally said, "He was in our house, Dad, for Christmas dinner. I trusted him. Mom invited him, knowing what they were doing." "I know, son. She betrayed both of us." "Yes." "I have to testify, don't I?" I looked at him. "Only if you want to. I won't ask that of you." "She forged your signature, stole from you, planned to destroy you." His voice hardened. "I'm testifying." Back at the house, Rita spread everything across the kitchen table, created a master timeline on poster board, red for financial crimes, blue for affair evidence, green for premeditation proof. The picture was damning, systematic, calculated, cold. "Judge Holbrook got assigned to your case," Rita said. "I did some research, working class background. Father was a union electrician. She's fair, tough, doesn't tolerate BS. This is good for us." "When's the court date?" 3 weeks, April 23rd. Rita looked at the evidence. "Fitch will try to exclude this. He'll say the diary is private, the surveillance is harassment, Marcus is biased. We need to be ready." Over the next 2 weeks, we prepared. Rita coached Marcus on testimony, taught him to stay calm, stick to facts, answer only what was asked, showed him how Fitch would try to rattle him. We brought in a document examiner, former FBI, retired, did freelance consulting. He compared my real signature to the loan signature under magnification, pointed out 6 distinct differences, wrote a report concluding high probability of forgery. Diane contacted Eddie Corso, Max's PI buddy. He reviewed her surveillance work, confirmed it was done legally, agreed to testify if needed about proper documentation procedures. Tommy provided a list of character witnesses, 15 people from the plant, the diner, the church, men and women I'd worked with for 40 years, all willing to testify about my character. I tried to go back to the diner. Walked in, bell chiming. Eddie and Chuck made room, but this time was different. They asked questions, wanted to know what they could do. "You need anything, Walt? You just say." "Anything at all. We take care of our own." The ice was breaking. Not just in the weather, March was giving way to April, snow melting, crocuses pushing through the mud in Diane's garden. She'd asked me to help till the soil. I spent a Saturday afternoon turning earth, getting my hands dirty. Good work, honest work, the kind that clears your head. "You scared me that night," Diane said. She was planting bulbs, working alongside me. "In the workshop, the dark. I thought you were going to disappear." I was thinking about it. What changed? I stabbed the shovel into the dirt. You showed up, Rita showed up, Tommy, Marcus. All of you showed up when you didn't have to. I looked at her. Hard to disappear when people won't let you. She smiled, small smile, sad around the edges. Max used to say, being alone is a choice. You can choose it, or you can choose to let people in. Smart man. He was. She went back to planting. You would have liked him. I like you fine, Diane. Her hand stopped. She looked up. Yeah? Yeah. We worked until sunset, then sat on her porch with coffee, watching the light fade. Comfortable silence, the kind that doesn't need filling. My phone buzzed. Rita. Fitch filed a motion to dismiss. Judge denied it. We're going to trial, 3 days from now. I showed Diane the text. You ready? She asked. I thought about the evidence, the witnesses, Marcus's testimony, Rita's preparation, the community standing behind me. As ready as I'll ever be. 3 days. Then we'd see if truth could beat money. April 23rd came cold and clear. Last frost of the season, they said. I wore my good suit, not the one from graduation. I'd thrown that one away. This was my father's suit, the one he'd been buried in. Mom had kept it, and I'd kept it after she passed. Fit me better now than it ever had. Rita met me on the courthouse steps. Diane and Marcus were already inside, saving seats. "Remember," Rita said, "let me do the talking unless you're on the stand. Don't react to anything Fitch says. Judges notice everything." The courtroom was older than the new buildings downtown. 1970s architecture, wood paneling, fluorescent lights that hummed, smelled like floor wax and old paper. Benches were filling up, more people than I expected. Recognized some faces from the plant. Tommy was there, Eddie and Chuck, Mrs. Henderson from church. They'd come. Then Linda walked in. I hadn't seen her in person since that therapy parking lot. 6 weeks. She looked different. Hair perfectly styled, makeup professional, wearing a navy suit that probably cost more than my truck payment. Confident, composed, like she belonged here and I didn't. Dr. Lawrence Fitch walked beside her. Silver hair, expensive watch catching the light, carrying a leather briefcase that looked older than me. He nodded at people like he knew them. Probably did. Behind Linda was Derek Santorini, the statistics professor, 41, athletic, wearing a university blazer. He looked nervous. Good. All rise. Judge Patricia Holbrook entered, 64, reading glasses on a chain, no-nonsense expression. She sat, arranged her papers, looked over those glasses at both sides. "This is Brennan versus Brennan, contested divorce with allegations of fraud. We'll proceed efficiently. I don't tolerate games, and I don't tolerate wasting the court's time. Understood?" "Yes, Your Honor," from both sides. Fitch stood for his opening statement. Smooth voice, practiced cadence. "Your Honor, this is a case about a woman finally finding her voice after 42 years of silence. Dr. Linda Brennan spent her entire adult life in a traditional marriage that stifled her potential. She raised a child while her husband made every financial decision, controlled every aspect of their shared life. When she finally pursued her education, her lifelong dream, she discovered she could be more than just someone's wife. The divorce you see before you is not cruelty, it's liberation. My client seeks only what's fair: equitable distribution of marital assets, reasonable alimony to establish independence, an acknowledgement that her contributions to this marriage had value, even if her husband never recognized it." He sat down. Linda dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. Performance, I thought, but a good one. Rita stood. No fancy briefcase, just a yellow legal pad and a thumb drive. But her voice was steady. "Your Honor, this isn't a story about liberation. It's a story about theft. Mr. Brennan funded his wife's education to the tune of $127,000 over 7 years, willingly, proudly. While he worked double shifts at a factory, she attended classes, pursued her dream. He asked for nothing in return except partnership. She repaid him by forging his signature on loan documents, stealing $54,000 from their joint savings, conducting a multi-year affair, and orchestrating a public humiliation designed to shame him into submission. The evidence will show systematic fraud, calculated betrayal, and premeditated cruelty. We ask this court to dismiss her claims, order restitution for stolen funds, and recognize that Mr. Brennan is the victim here, not the villain." Judge Holbrook made notes. Her expression gave nothing away. "Call your first witness, Ms. Salazar." Rita called the document examiner first. Dr. Raymond Chen, former FBI, 30 years analyzing forgeries. He projected images on a screen. My real signature next to the home equity loan signature. "Note to the pen pressure here," he said, pointing. "The authentic signature shows consistent pressure. The question signature has hesitation marks, stops and starts, indicating someone copying rather than signing naturally. The loop on the W is too rounded. The cross on the T in Brennan is abbreviated. In my professional opinion, this signature is a forgery." He showed the legal pad Marcus had found. Pages of practice signatures. "This demonstrates clear attempt to replicate Mr. Brennan's signature. Combined with the loan document, the conclusion is unmistakable." Fitch's cross-examination tried to introduce doubt. Could these practice signatures have innocent explanation? Perhaps Mrs. Brennan was learning to sign cards for her husband? Dr. Chen didn't blink. The loan was taken without Mr. Brennan's knowledge. Combined with the systematic transfer of marital funds, innocent explanation is implausible. Judge Holbrook leaned forward. "Dr. Chen, are you saying someone forged Mr. Brennan's signature?" "Yes, Your Honor," with high confidence. Next came the bank officer, confirmed the transfers. $54,000 moved over 6 weeks from joint savings to an account in Linda Walsh's name. All electronic transfers using my login credentials. Mr. Brennan reported this as unauthorized access. Yes, ma'am. 3 weeks ago. We flagged the account immediately. Fitch tried his angle. This was a joint account. Mrs. Brennan had legal access. Judge Holbrook interrupted. The receiving account was solely in her name? Yes, Your Honor. Continue. Rita presented the timeline. Poster board with dates, amounts, events. December, Linda's thesis defense. January through February, money transfers begin. Late February, forged home equity loan. March, she moves in with Derek Santorini. Graduation night. Public divorce announcement. This timeline shows systematic planning, Your Honor, not spontaneous decision-making. Fitch objected. Called it circumstantial. Judge Holbrook overruled. It's a timeline, Counselor. Ms. Salazar is allowed to present chronology. We broke for lunch. I couldn't eat. Stood in the hallway with Marcus while Rita reviewed notes. Linda walked past with Fitch. Wouldn't look at me. Derek stayed close to her, but his confidence from this morning was gone. He looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. She's scared, Marcus said. How can you tell? She does this thing with her hands when she's nervous. Rubs her thumb against her fingers. She's doing it now. Afternoon session started with Linda's testimony. Fitch walked her through the victim narrative. How controlled she felt. How invisible. How the PhD gave her courage to leave. She cried. Real tears, as far as I could tell. Maybe she believed her own story by now. Then Rita stood for cross-examination. Mrs. Brennan, who paid your tuition? My husband. But all $127,000? Yes, but I didn't ask him to. You didn't ask him to fund your education? Rita's eyebrows raised. Linda faltered. I mean, I asked, but... So you asked. He agreed. He paid. While working how many hours per week? I don't know exactly. 60, 70, double shifts to cover tuition? Objection, Fitch said. Argumentative. Sustained. Move on, Miss Gabayazar. Rita shifted. Mrs. Brennan, did you transfer $54,000 from your joint account without telling your husband? I needed financial security. Security from what? From the man funding your education? Linda's composure cracked. I needed independence. Did you forge his signature on a home equity loan? No, I never... We'll see what other witnesses say. Rita looked at her notes. How long have you known Professor Derek Santorini? Linda went pale. A few years. How many is a few? 3, maybe 4. And when did your romantic relationship begin? Long pause. Recently. Define recently. Last year, Rita smiled. Shark smile. We'll be presenting evidence that suggests otherwise, Mrs. Brennan. Court adjourned for the day. Judge Holbrook would reconvene tomorrow morning. Outside, Derek caught up to Linda. I watched them through the courthouse windows. He was talking fast. She was shaking her head. He walked away. She stood alone on the steps. For a second, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Day 2 started with Diane Fletcher on the stand. She wore a navy dress I'd never seen before. Hands folded in her lap, back straight, nervous but determined. Rita walked her through the basics first. How long we'd been neighbors. How well she knew our family. Mrs. Fletcher, did you observe anything unusual in the months before the divorce? Yes. Every Wednesday afternoon, 1 to 4 o'clock, a silver Audi would park at the Brennan house. Mrs. Brennan would leave with a younger man. How many times did you observe this? 14 times that I documented. Probably more that I didn't. Rita introduced the photographs. Time-stamped, dated, clear images of Linda and Derek entering and leaving the Colonial Inn. Hotel receipts matched the dates exactly. Fitch tried to paint Diane as a bitter gossip, suggested she was invading Linda's privacy. Diane's response was perfect. Mr. Fitch, my late husband was a private investigator. He taught me that if you see something wrong, you speak up. Walt helped Max when his arthritis got bad. Fixed our porch railing, wouldn't take a dime. I'm not letting a good man get destroyed by lies. That's not gossip. That's decency. Judge Holbrook's expression softened slightly. Just answer the questions, Mrs. Fletcher, but noted. Fitch had no comeback. Diane stepped down, walked past Linda without looking at her. Next witness, Judge Holbrook said. Marcus took the stand. My son, 38 years old, about to testify against his mother. His hands shook when he raised them to be sworn in. Rita kept it simple. Mr. Brennan, what's your relationship to the parties? Walt's my father. Linda's my mother. Do you recognize the man seated in the gallery third row? Marcus looked at Derek. His jaw tightened. Yes, Derek Santorini. How do you know him? He was my academic advisor at the university, senior year 2009. He guided my thesis when my grandmother died and I was struggling. The courtroom went quiet, people putting pieces together. Did Professor Santorini have any other connection to your family? My mother invited him to our Christmas dinner in 2008, said he was alone for the holidays, had no family nearby. My father welcomed him into our home. I heard someone in the gallery whisper, saw Derek sink lower in his seat. When did you learn about your mother's relationship with Professor Santorini? 3 weeks ago, my father told me the name. I didn't believe it at first. What changed your mind? Marcus's voice went hollow. I visited my mother's apartment. She'd given me a key for emergencies. I found evidence. Rita introduced the legal pad, pages of my signature, practice runs. Marcus identified it as coming from Linda's nightstand, then the diary entries. Marcus read one aloud. Need to secure finances before he realizes. Derek says I deserve better than a factory worker. His voice broke on the last word. He stopped, collected himself. There were more entries, detailing her plan, when to transfer money, when to file, how to make the announcement public so my father would be too ashamed to fight back. Linda was crying now, but the tears looked different, less like sadness, more like panic. Fitch tried to paint Marcus as biased. You're taking your father's side because he's your father. Marcus looked him dead in the eye. No, sir. I'm telling the truth because it's the truth. I love my mother, but I can't support theft and lies. His voice strengthened. Professor Santorini was my mentor. He came to our home. My mother knew that. She chose him anyway. That's not just betraying my father. That's betraying me too. Perhaps your mother deserves happiness after 42 years. Not by stealing, Marcus cut him off. Not by forging signatures. Not by destroying a man who worked himself half to death to give her everything she asked for. There are honest ways to leave a marriage, Mr. Fitch. This wasn't one of them. Judge Holbrook was making notes. Lots of notes. Derek Santorini stood suddenly, walked out of the courtroom. Judge noticed. So did everyone else. Final witness, Your Honor, Rita said. Walter Brennan. I took the stand. My hands were steadier than I expected. I'd said my truth to lawyers and judges. Now I'd say it under oath. Rita asked me about the marriage. I told it straight. Married young, worked hard, raised our son. When Linda wanted her degree, I supported it. 40 hours turned to 60, then 70, paid every bill, never complained, thought we were building something together. What did you think when she served you at graduation? I thought I was dying, standing there, 200 people watching, phones recording. Thought maybe my heart would just stop and that'd be easier than walking out of that room. What did you discover afterward? That it wasn't impulse. She'd planned it, stolen our savings, forged my signature, been cheating for years, built her case while I was working doubles to pay her tuition. I looked at Linda. She wouldn't meet my eyes. She didn't just leave me. She tried to erase me. What do you want from this court? My house, my pension, the money she stole, and the truth on record. I kept looking at Linda. I loved you. I supported your dreams. You repaid me with calculated cruelty. I don't hate you. I pity you. You got your PhD, but you lost your soul. The courtroom was dead silent. Fitch's cross-examination was brief. Tried to paint me as bitter. I wasn't bitter. I was done. Closing statements were short. Fitch appealed to sympathy. Rita pointed at the evidence. Judge Holbrook removed her reading glasses. I'm ruling from the bench. I've heard enough. She looked at Linda. Mrs. Brennan, your victim narrative is contradicted by every shred of evidence. Your husband funded your education willingly. You repaid him with systematic theft and forgery. The diary entries show premeditation. The forged loan is criminal fraud. I'm ordering full restitution plus interest. The stolen savings will be returned in full. Mr. Brennan retains the marital home. His pension is his alone. No alimony. Fraud negates any claim to spousal support. She turned to me. Mr. Brennan, you're awarded full restitution. Divorce granted. Gavel strike. It was over. Linda left the courthouse through a side door. Alone. Derek never came back inside. Heard later he'd driven straight to the university, cleaned out his office that afternoon. Ethics board was already investigating. He resigned before they could fire him. Marcus and I stood on the courthouse steps. April sun, finally warm. People from the gallery stopped to shake my hand. Eddie, Chuck, Tommy. Mrs. Henderson hugged me, said she'd been praying. "You did good, Dad," Marcus said. "You did good, son. Couldn't have done it without you." "I know." He smiled, sad smile. "Family's broken now." "No, family's honest now. That's different." Rita came out carrying her files. "Restitution payments start in 30 days. The house is yours, pensions untouched. She'll be paying you back for years." "Don't care about that," I said. "Just wanted what's mine." "You got it." She looked tired, happy tired. "I'm applying to law school. Figure if I can beat Fitch as a paralegal, I should see what I can do with a law degree." "You'll be great at it. You helped me see I could be." She headed to her car, stopped. "My dad's proud. Wanted you to know." After she drove off, Diane appeared. She'd been hanging back, letting the others have their moment. "You okay?" she asked. "Getting there." "Good, because my garden still needs work, and you promised." I laughed. First real laugh in months. "Yes, ma'am." Marcus stayed for a week. We repainted the kitchen together, light blue instead of the beige Linda had chosen. Worked in comfortable silence mostly, the way men do when words aren't needed. One afternoon, he found the old photo albums in the hall closet. We sat at the barnwood table, looking at pictures of him as a kid. Linda was in most of them. Younger, smiling, different person. "Was she always like this?" Marcus asked. "No. Or maybe she was, and I didn't see it. I don't know anymore." "Do you hate her?" I thought about it. Honest thought. "No, I'm sad for her. She got everything she said she wanted. The degree, the professor, the freedom. And she's more alone than she's ever been. That's not hate. That's just sad." Marcus's wife Sarah was due any day. He needed to get back to Colorado. We stood in the driveway by his truck, neither of us good at goodbyes. "Call me when the baby comes," I said. "First call I make." He hugged me. "I love you, Dad." "Love you too, son." After he left, I went to the workshop. The cradle was still there, still unfinished. I pulled off the drop cloth and looked at it. Good work. Just needed the final coat of oil and the support slats. I spent the next 3 days finishing it. Took my time. Sanded until the maple was smooth as glass. Applied tung oil, let it soak in. Applied another coat. Cut the support slats precise. Fitted them perfect. My father would have approved. When it was done, I stood back and looked at it. Beautiful work. Made with my own hands during the worst time of my life. Somehow, that made it matter more. Marcus called on a Tuesday morning. "Dad, she's here. Helen Marie Brennan, 7 pounds, 3 ounces, perfect." Helen, named after my mother. My throat got tight. "How's Sarah?" "Exhausted, happy. She wants you to come meet your granddaughter." I drove to Colorado that weekend. 18 hours, stopped once for gas and bad coffee. Arrived at the hospital with sawdust still under my fingernails from the cradle. Sarah was in bed, tired but glowing, and Marcus was holding a tiny bundle wrapped in pink. He handed her to me. "Dad, meet Helen." She was impossibly small, dark hair, her mother's nose, but when she opened her eyes, blue like mine, like my mother's, something in my chest broke open. "Hey there, little one," I whispered. "I'm your grandpa." Her tiny hand grabbed my finger, strong grip. "She likes you," Sarah said. "She's perfect." I sat in the chair by the window, holding my granddaughter, watching the sun come through the blinds. Marcus took a picture, said it was for the mantle. That night, I helped Marcus set up the nursery. The cradle fit perfectly in the corner. Helen's first night, she slept in something I'd made with my hands while my world was falling apart. "Thank you, Dad," Marcus said, "for finishing it." Had to. She needed a place to sleep. 2 months later, the christening, small ceremony at Marcus's church in Colorado. Helen wore my mother's christening gown that Sarah had cleaned and pressed. White lace, delicate as spider webs. Afterward, people asked how I was doing. "You doing okay, Walt? Really?" I looked around the room. Marcus and Sarah, Helen asleep in her carrier, Diane who'd flown out for the ceremony, friends, family, people who'd shown up when it mattered. "Yeah," I said, and meant it. "I'm free." The life I'd planned was gone. The woman I'd loved for 42 years had tried to destroy me. But standing there, holding my granddaughter, surrounded by people who'd fought beside me, I realized something. She'd taken 42 years, but she couldn't take who I was, couldn't take my character, my community, my ability to build something new from the wreckage. I'd lost a wife, But I'd found my dignity, found out who my real family was, and I was still here, still standing, still building. That was enough. Summer came to the workshop the way it always does, gradual, then all at once. Morning light through the window, coffee steaming on the workbench, radio playing low, some old country station out of Indianapolis, songs my father used to hum while he worked. I was building a bookshelf for Helen's nursery, cherry wood this time, something that'd last generations. My hands moved steady across the grain, measuring twice, cutting once. The same hands that had worked a factory line for 40 years. The same hands that had signed checks to pay for a woman's dream. While she planned my destruction, those hands were still good, still building. People ask sometimes if I'm bitter, usually at the diner on Thursday mornings when the conversation gets around to it. I tell them what I told Marcus, I'm not bitter, I'm free. Linda's living in Georgia now, teaching at some community college. That PhD she worked so hard for, underused. Heard through Marcus she's alone. Derek didn't last 6 months after the trial. Turns out, when consequences show up, cowards disappear. I don't wish her harm. Don't wish her well either. Mostly, I don't think about her at all. Diane and I have coffee most mornings now, on her porch or mine, doesn't matter which. We talk about gardens and grandkids and the weather turning, small things, good things. She's teaching me that endings can hold beginnings if you're brave enough to let them. Marcus calls every Sunday, sends pictures of Helen. She's crawling now, pulling herself up on furniture, using that cradle I built to stand, learning the world is solid if you test it first. My father used to say, a man isn't measured by what he keeps, but by what he builds after everything's taken away. Took me 67 years to understand what he meant. The table I built with him is still in my kitchen. The workshop still smells like sawdust and machine oil. Helen's cradle sits in Colorado, holding the next generation. And I'm here, hands moving across cherry wood, building something that'll outlast me. She tried to erase me, tried to take everything that mattered, but I'm still here, still building, still me. And every morning when I pick up my father's tools, when I measure and cut and sand and build, that's my answer. That's my dignity, that's my peace. Not the ending I planned, but it's the one I earned, and that's enough.